Hello, everyone, and welcome to Roll 2 DMs with your co-host, me, Sleman, and Brendan.
Hello. How goes?
We're doing good.
That's
We're doing excellent. Unfortunately, Josue wasn't able to join us today. He's doing his Apex Championship things now.
He's
Best of luck apexing those predators, you know?
He's hosting, I believe.
No, he's
Was it-
competing.
He's shite.
Yeah, no, he's competing in the finals. Yeah, so send all the energy to him. Yeah, I think he's also streaming. So if you can open up 2 streams at the same time, maybe do that.
What's the Twitch
Mellowcrit.
Mellowcrit?
Yeah, Mellowcrit. But yes, let's start on with the topic of, well, I guess a continuation of last week's, or not last week's, 2 weeks ago. Since last week we had some technical difficulties with the storm and everything. But yeah, let's hop on to part 2 of combat. We can probably jump straight in to yeah. Also, shout out to Ibrahim, the man behind the screen, managing all of our, actually being the person that saves us during most of these situations.
There's an editor.
Yeah, editor, master, webmaster.
Yeah, if he wants to, he can just turn it off now.
Yeah,
and then we can just leave.
We can just he can just turn it off and
This could be the show.
Yeah. But yeah, we can probably hop onto our the first topic. How long should we run combat?
Right.
Yeah. How about we first start with your background, as a player, because you mainly have been a player, but you also DM'd a bit.
I DM'd it was a small amount of time, and I started D&D about 3 years ago.
Yeah,
3 years ago, senior year of high school, around that.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I guess it's been 3.5. God,
it's been a while.
Time's flying.
It's been a while, Yeah.
But yeah, I started about 3.5 years ago. And I was a player for a long time, and then CU Boulder D&D started up, and I was one of the founding
Shout out
people
to
of
Kobe.
that. Yeah. So I was one of the starting DMs.
Yeah.
For the first season, and I tried to do that, but I ran I was one of those people that I didn't run the campaign to where I had it extremely scripted. I was one of those people. We were running Waterdeep. I was one of those people where I read the chapter that we were going over through that session. I read it about an hour before we started.
Okay.
So where I highlighted a few things, and I'm like, all right, we're just going to see where this goes.
Let's run this. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's an approach of doing it. But yeah, so you have mainly experience as a player, right? Yeah.
Primarily as a player. Even now, I'm a player in your game.
Yes.
And then I'm
shout out to the Meek, Yeah. Or no, actually the unhinged misfits semicolon Liam Neeson.
Is that his name?
That's the official name. Yeah.
We need to pin it in Discord.
Yeah, but
yeah, I did that, and then I'm also in Kobe, President Kobe's game.
Yes. Shout out to Kobe again. Yes.
Which you both are wonderful DMs.
Yeah.
So I'll say.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, we can start. Yeah. So length of combat. Any thoughts on how long you prefer to have combat usually?
Okay, so when it comes to actual encounters, I think what really deciphers it is what the combat's for. Why this combat's happening.
Yeah.
What plot is actually involved in the combat, and then also how much time is left in the session physically.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair. Yeah, no, that's pretty fair and pretty accurate. Yeah, so, I agree.
Yeah, so I'll go with that point by point. So
yeah, sure.
I already forget the first thing I said. What was the first one?
It was, I think, the type of Me too.
So I believe it was the actual
plots.
How much plot is physically in this combat? Because it says physically in the player's handbook, and I'm yet to know a DM that truly follows this besides someone that I watch on YouTube.
Yeah.
Where they recommend what? It's in 4 to 8 or 5 to 8 sessions. Or combat sessions.
Yeah.
In a character day. And of course I assume that's not over one session, but still that's a ton of combat. and there's 3 pillars of D&D. There's combat, travel, and in social.
Yeah.
Most people, a lot of people I know don't really focus on the travel part.
Yeah.
If they do the travel, it's like a long period of time, and then most of the DMs I've ever been with focus a lot on the social part, and they only come up with the combat if it's really plot relevant.
Yeah.
You're a good example of this, to where pretty much every combat that we ever do concerning you is very plot relevant.
Yeah. No, like I'm not. Yeah, like that's the thing. I feel like we covered a bunch like last week also is in regards of the frequency of combat and like how often do you run it. And yeah, no, like me, I really do run combat mainly, like when it's relevant to the story and when it makes sense to have combat.
Yeah. And then when I noticed the trade-off with that is that whenever we do have those combats,
Danny. Yeah.
Oh, hey, Danny. So whenever we do have those combats, they tend to be long.
Yeah.
They are very long.
Session
and
long combats.
everyone is Novaing all of their abilities.
It's all out fights usually.
So like I've had like 2 combats in your game so far.
And they've been pretty
and they were very lengthy. But like the one combat we did, it was the last one we had.
Yeah.
Where I was thinking to myself, I'm playing an ASMR, so we have like that long rest daily ability, and I'm like, should I hold on to this because I don't know if this is gonna go further. It turns out that was the only combat that day.
Yeah, no, yeah,
but everyone did not. Everyone was pretty much completely cashed out.
Yeah.
Except for me, I think I held up to like 1 spell of each, and I'm like, just in case.
That is true, and that's really about like kind of the scale of like the intensity of combat and such.
Yeah.
But in terms of like length, I would feel like most times like personally for me like session long combats usually run the best, and I would even like recommend to people who are thinking of running combat and stuff, like try like either starting the session with the combat or like maybe an hour buffer. Oh yeah, Danny did have just a spell slot left, but warlock stuff though.
Yeah, warlock.
Oh, just blasting is the way
you
gotta do. Yeah. But yeah, like most times when we do like the combat, she's like an hour buffer of y'all like kind of walking towards the combat and stuff, or like getting into it, or at one point where we just we wrap up the session just before me the GM knows you're gonna get into combat.
All this build up. Yeah. That's a big thing. That's a big thing I really that I personally like, is that if you are gonna do, if you are really into like the one combat a day and you want it very
high octane,
very plot relevant. We know that it tends to be longer.
Yes.
So I recommend, even if you're like maybe like 3 hours, like if your D&D game is like 4 hours, or even if it's 3 hours, if you're like 2 hours in or 3 hours in, and you have a long combat, you're like, we can just end early if you want.
Yeah.
Y'all can discuss this for this half hour.
Exactly.
If you really want to go into this, because I'm not gonna lie, this combat may be really hard.
Exactly. Yeah. no, I feel like it's a fairly fair approach, and I personally am like, I recommend like for DMs who want to run a once per day combat, or like once per like every other like 5 sessions combat, or like 3, like doing that one big kind of like cinematic combat. It's almost always preferable to run that during a full session. You can't really cutting into like maybe like half a session and then carrying it over in the second session. There's a loss of momentum that happens, and there's there's a case of people feeling less, because like once you like there's all the build up towards the combat, and then you reach a point where you're like you're reaching, and everyone's like amped up and ready to fight, throwing their spell slots in like in the zone, but then you have the thing where like if you like cut it short to like half the combats, you have a full week.
It completely slows everything down.
Like the tension doesn't really feel there because you aren't really in the moment, because you're just dropped in. Like logically speaking, that you're in combat, and that that there's a sense of danger to an amount, but isn't that like psychological or kind of emotional like amped upness that you get? Yeah, which is the thing that like I think about, and like I remember like I talked to Kobe about also, like it's it's always good to have that one session full momentum to like end the combat.
So like we are the build up. This is happening, and this combat, the session's gonna end. Yeah. Or it's going to end, or it's going to, or during this session, this combat is going to finish, is going to go from start to middle to finish.
And sometimes though you can find, you know, if you're gonna run really big combat, you know, especially for like higher level stuff, you have the option to, you know, like run something, and you have like multi-phase battles and such. And remember we talked about that, like I think like last session we talked about the Tuna Mountain, touched on it. But like when you have like a multi-phase fight, you can probably stop at like halfway through into the like the beginning of the second phase or the final phase for a fight, you know.
Now note that is like you notice that a lot more with later level combats,
because you have more hit points. You have more stuff to do.
You have so many more resources. But so does the enemy. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And you have lots of times to make that combat feel good. You know, you have to, you know, be capable of running for a while, and sometimes running for a while can be your characters might be level 17 heroes of the realm saving the world, but you got class tomorrow.
Yeah, well, yeah, you have a class, especially if you're a college student. You have class tomorrow. You have a job that that could start that starts early in the morning.
In your case, you
have things that you got things that you got to do.
Exactly. I fully agree with that.
All right, and then on the so we'll. I think we're gonna go from there to the other side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So what if, you know, and this is the way I typically run things. To where I run things a lot of. You know, the times that I have DM'd,
I've run things, combats.
I've run things either decently short, maybe like a half hour. Yeah, you know, there's only like 2 rounds or something like that where something happens. But and then that happens like 2 or 3 times.
Okay,
I've had that happen where I've run like 2 combat sessions, like 2 or 3 combat sessions in the same game.
Yeah. Okay.
But in exchange, those things are only like. They're like 2 rounds.
Yeah, and you like know, the CR, and like in terms of CR difficulty, if you're at that low level, that matters.
Yeah. The point of putting multiple combats in those is for the purpose of wearing of those characters feeling like the wear and tear.
Yeah, like attrition.
Yeah, I've been in games where that's happened, where it's been a mix of the two.
Yeah.
In fact, where it's been like 2 or 3 combats, but
I
it was
remember
all in the
that
same
game. Yeah.
But the session afterwards, it was one big combat.
Yeah, no.
And you were cashed on resources.
Yeah, shout out to the Siege of Akiano, I guess, you know.
You had to be resourceful as hell.
Oh my god, yeah. That was actually like the full, like, and sometimes it works thematically also.
Yeah, that's like ending a chapter.
Yeah. Because like, you know, if your characters and PCs are in a situation where they're under siege, a siege usually involves, you know, like sapping and like, you know, like draining the enemies, or, you know, whoever's like fortified, you know.
Yeah, small objectives, skirmishes.
Yeah. Like draining their spell slots, you know.
Yeah, and then there's one thing at the very end.
Yeah, exactly.
How that usually works for a game.
And like that's a totally like valid way of doing it. And you mentioned like the shorter sessions and stuff. And if I'm not mistaken, that's usually how it's supposed to be run by the books.
Really?
Like you know, most times where, you know, you have like, you know, like the daily allowances for XP and stuff. You know, like if you're running like by, you know, XP and stuff, by XP and not milestone, and you have all those, you know, CR allowances and stuff, that like it's supposed to be that, you know, you're doing maybe 2 deadly encounters like between long rests, or, you know, like there's a weird number. I can't like tell at the top of my head, but like it's there's like that weird number that you can, like, they encourage you to run like a couple of easy encounters per session. You know, like fight a couple, like, you know, goblins, you know, go and, you know, maybe fight some, like, you know, kobolds, and, you know, like the kind of traditional kind of thing.
Do a couple like higher, like small higher missions.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the same day something happens after the mission, and then you got to go do that.
Exactly. Or like run into a patrol, like, you know, you run into the patrol, fight them, you get to the camp, you fight them, then you get to the final boss, you fight them.
And it's like in the cave.
Like it works really well for like dungeon crawl based games.
Yep.
And that's just actually a topic that, like, you know, like in terms of like length and stuff, that for dungeon crawls, it's almost it feels like you're always in combat. There's like very, very time, you know, like unless you can produce, like, it depends on the dungeon, I guess.
Yeah.
But like you can probably tell me a bit more, since
well, like just concerning like
dungeon crawls and such.
Well, like
how do you feel about like combat being run in them?
There's like in the beginning of this podcast, there's the three main pillars.
Yeah, like
story. There's story, you know, story plot, you know, conflict or combats, and then traversal.
Yeah.
Traversal. If you're taking out traversal because you're in a dungeon, Like
Yeah.
you're not probably not going far.
And social
That-
isn't
that
kind
was
of
part-
taken out also.
Well, that's the
Well, it
thing.
depends, yeah.
That's the thing. Is what we're gonna go
Yeah.
to. If you have a bunch of combat, if you're going through a dungeon crawl, odds are there's a reason you're going into that dungeon.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have combats every so often. There's gonna be whatever, you're fighting a bunch of stuff. You're slowly getting drained over each combat.
Yeah.
But also in between those combats, when you're investigating after the scene or spying out before the scene, there should be a lot that you're having. There should be a lot of stuff in between those.
Yeah, like puzzle solving.
Well,
and,
you're
like,
puzzle solving, and then also
Problem solving, yeah.
building on the story of
True.
maybe you're finding out more information concerning what's at the bottom of the dungeon.
Yeah, true, yeah.
Or you're like, why, you're slowly finding out through the whole thing of why X is doing Y, in this dungeon.
Yeah.
So because I admit, when it comes to combat, you can get drained.
Yeah.
Over like
It's
even
intense.
like if there's like a 2-hour combat, even then, if there's a 2-hour combat, and I've been in those, but if it's like that and there's not much build up, there's not much story build up before or after, you're in the middle of it and you're like, why am I here?
Yeah, no, yeah. It feels like, no, that's totally fair. No, like it gets to that point where, like, especially like running combat in general, or like being in combat, does take a toll on you as a person, just because you're always running numbers, you're always thinking about possibilities. Your brain is going gigabrain the whole time.
Yeah, and that's what,
and like it drains itself.
Yeah, you mean just imagine what the
Mathletes
imagine what the DM's thinking.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he's fighting this combat, and he's also thinking about literally everything else that's about to happen after this.
Yeah, trust me. That's what happens. As a DM, like sometimes I just like I can't really get through a combat without like an energy drink.
Yeah, you're like,
I generally I'm like, I gotta pop out that rain,
You're like, guy,
sponsor us, rain? Question mark.
Maybe.
Question mark. But yeah.
But I don't think if you're gonna have a long combat. Going back to the primary question of how long should your combats be, if you do plan on running a long combat, which is totally fine, as we previously discussed, there really is not a problem of maybe in the middle just being like, hey.
Yeah.
Can we just take 5 minutes?
Yeah, take 5.
Someone take some we can go pee, and go pee. Have
go to the little players in DM's rooms.
Yeah. Go drink some water or rain energy drink, and
eat a tangerine.
Yeah, eat a tortilla, and then come back.
Yeah,
and they'll be like, okay, all right, let's continue this.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So everyone feels refreshed, and
really
then
need
the
those
energy
breaks,
can keep going.
Yeah, and I guess once again, the answer really comes to it depends.
As does everything.
Yeah, and I feel like we can probably hop onto the next topic of discussion.
Gotcha.
How deadly do you want your combat to be, and how deadly should you make your combat?
I think this is a direct tie with the previous question.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. It's really like how intense should that combat be? Yeah, Kobe. Yeah, no, especially second or first meteor swarm, huh, Kobe? Or third, I don't know. But yeah, I agree. Yeah, like Kobe is agreeing with us. Like I guess for the VODs, shout out to Rings Around Kobe, president, with all the yes.
But yeah, deadliness is directly tied to this because like we were saying, if there's something like a build up. If there's a buildup of smaller encounters, odds are those encounters usually aren't too deadly.
Yeah.
Usually, I've seen some things where it's like where it's 2 deadly encounters in a row, and you're like, oh shit, I know this is gonna happen, and I know this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
I still have to think about this, but my friend's dying
also,
over there. And
because and the thing is also, I guess we can very quickly touch on the subject. I don't really want to lurk on it too much, but like just CR in general is that typically from level 1 to like level maybe 8, CR can be like challenge rating could be used for like general measurements of how bad or how deadly the encounter is.
In
general. But the thing is deadly encounters by measurement and by what it's defined as are supposed to be encounters where at least one party member has a possibility of dying.
Has a possibility of dying or does fall unconscious during it.
Yeah, and it's mainly like there's lots. We're not really gonna do this quantifying CR and like whether it's fair or not, because that's a whole can of worms.
That's a whole other episode.
If people really want us to talk about that stuff, you can probably just do a full episode on that.
On just
But
CR.
yeah, on CR, because CR is a whole like and homebrewing. CR and homebrewing is a whole topic, honestly. But in general, like if you want to make something like if somehow you have a metric of knowing that encounter is deadly, medium, easy.
Yeah.
Like if you just know that like intuition wise and you've read the party, yeah, CR, yeah, like
CR Blay.
Yeah,
that's the summation.
But like it's like if you have a general intuition, because as a DM, the more you play with a party, the better you get a gauge of like how the party can fare against certain encounters.
Yes. Yeah.
The more like, because especially when you're the DM, you're buffing them, you're nerfing them.
Yeah.
And in my case, buffing to the most amount.
But hey, man, buffing.
Shout out to the Molly Diaz. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but that stuff is But in terms of like actual like yeah, I feel like it really does like dungeon crawls, and if you're having like one combat per like between long rests, then having it be something intense or not intense is very much dependent on whether the players want to have hard combat.
That's very true.
Yeah, because some people.
I mean, like if you.
Yeah.
I mean, there is nothing wrong with like explicitly asking your players of being like, hey,
do you want a tough encounter?
Do you want to have something tough, or furthermore, do you want to have your players have a somewhat real risk of of
losing
actually
the characters,
of losing it?
Yeah.
Because I know I know odds are you probably are pretty attached to your character.
Yes, that's most likely.
But also you probably want something more of a challenge. So that's a thing to balance. And
yeah, no, I fully agree, and I feel like that really is a discussion for the beginning of a campaign.
Yes,
like
very beginning.
like whether that be through the GM going into like deciding if if you as the GM want to run a tough combat or like hard combat. Advertise that you are running like difficult or tactical combat.
I mean, hell yeah, some people are attracted to that.
Yeah,
I'm attracted to that. I like more challenging things.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about deadly combat and tough combat. As a player, yeah, I would say I'm fairly attracted to it. As a DM, I worry.
No, dude, it's
Well,
the thing is, I don't know. My personal opinion about that is like, if you advertise this as a deadly campaign, and you do know, and you have some knowledge of how to balance for your players.
You've read through the DM's handbook. You've read through the DMG, and you've read through the player's handbook.
Yeah, if it is like that, and there's a car peeping outside. Is that coming up? No, it's not.
No, it's not coming up.
But if you advertise it like that, and people are coming in, and someone's character does die. The DM, he or she or they cannot be too hard on themselves for that.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That is fair. But and sometimes some parties and some campaigns just want combat to have fun and like feel like they're in a fantasy adventure.
Yeah.
Because combat is a really good way of being able to display how powerful your characters are. Because like sure even if you're playing like a level like whatever level can cast fireball, and you're during like social encounters and doing all that stuff, you're spending all the time being like sure there's also character development and stuff, but then there's also the fact that you're leveling up. But do you feel the power of your level ups? Do you feel that you're impactful as a like as a character? Do you feel badass?
Do you feel badass, and do you feel like that's the big thing. Do you feel like you are that powerful to where you're like, can I handle these difficult encounters, and do I feel confident enough?
Yeah, and sometimes you just want to feel badass by like wiping, like if you're like, I remember like there was a case with I think it was during Lexi's game. Shout out to Lexi. When we were playing through a combat, and the first combat we had for the beginning of the semester, it was like a carryover for doing it during the CUD&D like regular tables, and it was the second part of that like campaign. And we started the game with like a medium like level like encounter where we as level like 15 characters were wiping through a bandit camp.
Oh, so it was just a flex.
Yeah, it was, I think either level 12 or level 15. It was like fairly high level.
Yeah.
Where like like the point of that combat wasn't to challenge us nor was it to make us feel like we like we're going through 12. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So like the purpose of that combat wasn't to like challenge us. It was to make us feel like we're level 12s.
Yeah, it's it's like
we've
look at
grinded
how far,
so hard.
look at how far you've gone.
Yeah. Sometimes it's really good to give players that feel, and like I feel like my game has had that happen to moments where like we started out level 1, and y'all had like for the people that I remember, I think Danny was during that fight for like when you were level 2, but when we were having that like first couple of fights, you're fighting scouts, and you're like relatively nimble and like low CR stuff, and then afterwards when you get to like level 7, like right now, y'all run into the same enemy type. But now y'all can. It's not. It's just it's embarrassing to the enemies.
Yeah.
Y'all can just easily like. I remember the part like I can't remember the exact term, but essentially like y'all were able to just humiliate those like very low CR enemies and go through like I think one time like you were there during the fight with the Black Mass in the sewer. Where like y'all just like the 2 scouts, where it felt like y'all just breezed through them because they were like CR2s.
Yeah,
like they were like CR2s or 3s, and like
we were just like okay, and then the fighter just comes up and like
one shots one of them with like their whole thing,
like Great Weapon Master, and just completely cleaving someone.
Exactly, and I'm pretty sure we didn't even reach the end of initiative.
No,
with how effective y'all were.
No, someone just did not. A couple people just did nothing because they couldn't.
And I remember. Yeah, no, like, and the thing is, like, those combats aren't meant to make y'all feel that you're in like this deadly combat encounter. Those combats are meant to make y'all feel. Like as strong as y'all are, that y'all can.
There's bigger fish.
Yeah, you are level 7. You can probably with a cantrip kill a regular person. Like with 0 spell slots or like expenditure from your end, literally 6 seconds, you can kill a person.
Yeah, just gone.
And and the thing is, people like it's always good to remind the players of the place, the position they are in the community and the general world where they have this power. But like then there's the question to the players of whether they should use this power for good or shenanigans.
I have a short story about this.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
There is a this was like senior of high school, and I was playing Pathfinder at the time.
Oh wow.
And then I think we were like level 5, and I was a bard or something like that.
Yeah.
Bards can get all kinds of weird ass spells, but what happened was like he without the players knowing, our DM did that exact thing where he said, okay, this is a thing, this is a plot thing. I need you, it's NPCs, like I need you to go into this cave and kill all these goblins. And we're like, all right, we got this. But
Let's go.
But we went in. We were still cautious. We were like, maybe there's fucking like souped up.
That's like the super goblin, super goblin 9000.
Hardcore
coming
hobgoblins
out.
And fireball and stuff.
Yeah.
But no, we went in. There were like 2 hobgoblins, but like everyone else, like they were all just like dumb. They were well, not dumb, but they were just all
like swarm enemies.
All swarmy goblins.
Yeah.
And we had a blast. We had like a necromancer, and I was a bard.
Yeah.
We had some fighters, but we just completely swept through them in a session, and we were like, and he succeeded. He's like, "Do you guys like that?" I'm like, "Yeah, we wiped them. Yeah. We did awesome." He's like, "Yeah, it's not gonna be that easy next time, but like, I just want this to be the one time." That you that you feel really good.
Yeah, no, it works. It really works as a thing, and sure. Like, I guess also you can. I just remembered we have time probably to tap into another thing about Deadly before moving on.
Right.
But I just want to bring out the point of sometimes Deadly encounters, like don't have to be synonymous with a combat heavy game. Also, because like I feel like it's a really good tool for DMs who run like narrative focused games, or games that aren't combat heavy in general. That like it depends on obviously what the players want.
Yeah.
But if the players want to have combat, or they want to be challenged, just throw them that huge deadly encounter and those high stakes stuff like in our game.
I mean I've been in games where like we only have a combat like once a month.
Yeah.
Like once a month or like once every other month.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's something like that. But that combat is like
huge.
But like this combat is like the city is burning down.
Yeah, literally.
And these are the dudes that are doing it. we got to take him out.
No, exactly.
And this is the combat, and it's gonna take, it's and going back to before, and it's gonna take this whole session.
Yeah, no, exactly. And like the thing is that you can run that stuff, and I guess it's kind of, I personally like doing that just because it makes me feel like less compelled to like throw like easy encounters, because like sure you aren't getting combat for a while and you're resting and you're able to do social stuff and build your characters, but there's also the case that this world that you're living in is an intense world where the highs are high and the lows are like oh my god, these people are getting like slaughtered by the dozens, and like what's happening here,
you just saw a man get cleaved.
Yeah, no, literally. and the thing, and and the players having to deal with that stuff, I feel like is a really good kind of like, I guess, plot point in general of how because like some worlds are like I would like even describe it in terms of world building and stuff, which is just in regards to some worlds are just like peaceful, and they're like traditional like fantasy.
There's only a few things wrong.
There's only like some issues with it. The world isn't gonna like the number of people who die per day from just random like running into an encounter by accident is very low. People are just living their lives, farming, doing all that stuff. And then there's other worlds where like this world is intense. The magic, the magic is really strong in this world. Everything is super magical. There's monsters on every corner because of the magic, but also there's a lot of people who can do magic because of it.
And can fend it off. But also in turn, a lot of people do die as well.
Exactly.
It is a threat.
Yeah,
and like a thing that happened. Because I mean, like personally for me, I mean, no offense at all to your campaign, but I have.
Oh no.
No. But I'm the type of person where like if I don't get combat, like if I don't experience it in some form, like every like at least like every other week, every like 2
every
or
3 or 4
weeks,
sessions,
I'll start losing interest in the plot.
Interesting.
I to where, I mean, because granted, because a DM or you or whomever, you can be, you build so much plot, but if I am going to a game, to play extremely role play heavy games that do not involve combat of the sort, to where I'm a dude that's walking around with a sword, but
your sword doesn't have that much
19
action,
times out of 20 I am I'm conversing with people and doing this stuff, and I have all these powers that I'm looking at my character sheet at. If I'm not able to use a lot of those powers, I'm like, I'm like, why am I not playing? I'm like, why am I not just sitting here playing as like a dude that's, why am I not just playing another role-playing game that focuses hard on this?
That is fair. Yeah.
Wargamer
confirmed, cancelled. Well, see, that's a very fair approach, and like I fully understand that. And I remember if Matt's listening in, shout out to Matt. Like, he is also really into combat, and to the degree that sometimes me as a DM, if I can provide the combat and stuff, I'll be clear. This is the amount of combat I run. Yeah. And it's a very important thing for like between player and DM to know.
Yeah, no. And I perfectly understand.
I fully agree with that.
I never. I make sure I never rat on something like that. Yeah. Because I'm going into a game and I know what's and I know that I have an inclination. I know how that person runs things.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to change their style. Yeah. That's not my job.
The thing is that, there's always like compromise, that discussion. It's always good to really have these conversations and stuff about, like how much combat do you want to run? How interested, like, like all these requirements. Because, as a DM, sometimes you do lose perspective and kind of like focus on, the general requirements of, like the players in general. Because the goal is for everyone to have fun.
I feel like we're having this one-on-one thing right now with about your game.
But the thing is that this is a clear example of like proper communication.
Right.
You're supposed to talk about this stuff to your DMs. Ibrahim, I think the camera's a bit out of focus. Or
is it? I think it's fine.
I don't know. I just know the weird artifact, but I think it's fixed. Never mind. It was me literally adjusting, no issue. But no, see, the thing is that that stuff, like it's important to talk about this stuff. Like as players and DMs, if you have something you want to tell your DM and stuff, tell them. It's always good to do that.
Yeah, and
that's it's a pretty important thing to like have a fun game.
It's an extremely good, general statement.
And I feel like I think we've reached our quota of saying it once per like session, where because almost every single game of D&D is made 10 times better by having a clear conversation.
Yep.
by having that, like just clear dialogue and stuff.
Just be honest.
I feel we can probably hop into kind of our third topic of discussion,
Yep.
which is going to be tiers of play and how to make them feel like
How
nice.
makes it feel?
Feel good.
How to make that tier play feel like that tier of play?
And it very much taps into both of the topics we discussed, honestly.
Right.
Into the length and deadliness and intensity, where because like there's in regards of tiers of play, to clarify, we're mainly kind of discussing kind of those like in the player's handbook. I'm pretty sure it's like 4 tiers of play.
Yes.
Right. It's like 1 to 5, 5 to 10. 10 to 15, 15 to 20.
Yeah, and I think you can identify a lot of those. I think there's
Hero,
I think there's,
local heroes of the realm, like champions of the world. There's weird names for them.
Yeah, there's like scale of your situations. I think 2 of those are very easy to define,
Yes.
and then the other 2 are a lot more murky.
Yeah, it's weird because it depends on the game, really.
Yeah.
Because sometimes level 15 play and levels 15 to 20 play, most books and stuff advertise those as being like heroes of the world. You're saving the world and stuff.
Right.
But sometimes there's a case where like the world is so like intense and stuff that level 20 sometimes doesn't cut it. You gotta have other stuff. You gotta have you gotta have allies. You gotta have resources. You gotta have you're facing against forces that just being level 20 doesn't cut.
Yeah. This isn't just like this isn't just the continent. This is the multiverse. You're deciding the fate.
This is an Avengers level threat.
You're deciding the fate between the material and this other plane of existence.
Yeah.
You were deciding the fate of.
Exactly. And that intensity, and then obviously
crazy.
like 0 to 5, you're like you just started adventuring. You're local heroes, maybe.
Your first 5 levels might take place in like 2 towns.
Yeah, literally, I agree.
And both of these towns are within 8 miles of each other.
No, I fully agree. Yeah, no, exactly. And it really just involves traveling from like hamlet to hamlet, town to town. Like barely going to like I would honestly most times I just kind of call like that kind of tier of play from like 0 to like 3 or 4, like it's a separate thing where you're just really going to your destination. Leveling up there, getting the ropes.
I just call it dirty jobs with micro.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
What it is.
Rat catching. There's rats in the basement. You gotta kill them. Huh?
Yeah, you gotta take out these rats, man. They do 1 point of damage, but there's like 15 rats.
Yeah, or like maybe like there's like I know like there's a mimic plaguing this like shop. You gotta do 1 chess mimic. That's
Dude,
it.
and that's a deadly encounter.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's the thing.
That mimic can swallow one of your
friends. Or like
friends.
there's like 5 elf. Yeah, centipedes, exactly. You gotta kill some centipedes, There's like
you gotta get down that sewer, and there's a centipede infestation.
Yeah, no, yeah, and the thing is, like that tier of play, there's a certain amount of kind of like I guess charm to it also, because you're at that low level where it kind of feels campy at times.
Oh no,
you're like it's a nice tier of play.
It is the tier of play where the sorcerer is using a crossbow.
Yeah, no,
I mean, I don't have a problem with that, but I find it hilarious whenever you actually think about it.
That's actually a really good way of putting it. We're like, if you don't have to spell slot, you gotta spell out your crossbow.
Stop blasting. You're at the tier of play where the paladin does not have
smite.
You're at the. It's very at some points the paladin can't even smite.
No oath even, right?
He doesn't even know.
Are like
he's devoted to something.
Yeah, he feels holy, but like
Yeah, but to
question
what
mark.
regard?
Yeah, no, like exactly no.
All right, so 5. So
yeah,
so 1 to 5.
1 to 5.
I think that's the easiest one.
Yeah.
Briefly discuss 15 to 20. And we'll probably go back to that.
Yeah, and I feel like we can also just really section them out in terms of, like I feel like the 0 to 10 whole thing in general feels like one different vibe than once you get past 10, really.
I think, I
how do you feel?
In my brain, I separate it kind of different.
Yeah, how do you separate them?
I separated because there is, I play like a lot of spellcasters. So this is how I do it. This is how I do it. Because you think about. Well, you think about the actual types of spells that are happening in this world, or that some other people than you are casting.
Sure, yeah.
Because if you're 1 to 4, you don't have
cantrips.
You are. This is the point 1 to 4. This is the point before anyone even has the chance of being revivified.
Yeah.
To where if someone cannot heal you, or someone cannot resuscitate you to any sort. you were gone.
Which is why like deadly.
You're just some powerful. You know, in our world, you'd be just some
Like
decently
Olympic level athlete. Maybe.
Yeah, that's how they describe
you
it.
Run really
good athlete. But you're not gonna resurrect someone.
Yeah. Yeah, you're definitely, and that's a thing to always keep in mind, even as a DM, is that from that tier of play, if you make a deadly encounter and you kill a player, they're dead.
Yeah.
unless you somehow, are able to convince or be fast enough to, talk to an NPC who's also, like at that tier of play, you're not really going to be running into high level casters and stuff unless you want to do that.
Yeah.
Unless you want to give them the option of, unless you want to give them that revivify NPC. Hey guys, I'm a cleric. Oh, this diamond necklace I have, all diamonds worth a revivify diamond.
Yeah.
Like these are just in case any of my friends die.
Hey, I'm the cleric. I'll resurrect someone, but I just have this diamond.
Yeah, and it's my necklace.
If something else happens, I can't help you, man.
Yeah, you can for sure place that like in the game and stuff, but the majority of the times when you're running that combat and stuff, you just have to fully recognize the fact that there's no takebacks if something dies, unless you want to retcon that.
It's just a thing that happened. Or you just roll up another character.
Yeah, no, exactly.
You just get some other Olympic level athlete.
Yeah, no, hey, like
some brainiac.
The whole world kind of feels like an Olympic village at times, I guess. Then, yeah,
the Olympic village. Yeah. That's a really good.
Because it's all level ones, all level one, all level one fighters just being there.
They were all Olympians.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing to consider is also like you're dealing with that death and you're dealing with that kind of permanency of it.
It can be grim.
It can be grim, and that's the thing. If like even you as a DM, there's always the option of if something dies, don't let them die. Just don't
if there was one spot to retcon a retcon a death or fudge a dice roll, it's probably when you're holding this basket of eggs. Players.
Literally, yeah. But the thing is also, I've heard a topic of like pretty interesting discussion in terms of fatality and stuff, where instead of dying, you have lasting injuries. Like instead of
and that would just be like 1 to 4.
Well, that's the thing. You can run that for the whole because that's the thing. Some players really don't want death in their games, and that is a solution to that. In that regard, where like during that kind of like during the whole tier of play, or during perhaps you can probably talk to your players and be like like 1 to 4 we'll do with this, and then after that it gets more deadly. Just as a way of getting the players to sometimes the injuries may be just as bad as death. Losing an arm, losing an eye, having disadvantage on perception checks.
Yeah, this is
that stuff can be intense, and sometimes some players prefer that. Exactly. Especially on that tier of play, you lose a limb, no regenerate unless you're an artificer with one business day of rest.
One business day rest with one arm to somehow make this.
And you got an infusion, you got a prosthetic limb.
Yeah, but other than that,
fighter has no arms.
Other than that, your warlock just lost an arm.
Yeah. No casting unless you have a spellcasting focus. Like semantics can be hard.
Yeah.
Even
exactly.
And that's the whole thing where like and that works really well in games where players don't have to do combat that much, or the combat is infrequent but deadly. It works in that way because perhaps after this combat you just level up.
It's like so we're just there's a solution I've seen to that. I've experienced it where these are low levels. You is very likely you're gonna die. Very likely you're gonna die if you're too brave.
Yeah.
And just every other combat, we're just gonna keep jumping you ahead.
Yeah.
If you get to the
that works with milestone combat and stuff.
If you want to do it milestone wise, or if you don't want to do it XP and you want to do it milestone wise. You can, instead of having it to where we kill all these monsters and then you level up, it's going to be when you get to this next town, you will level up.
Exactly.
The DM knows that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, and that's a thing that you can always use for your benefit also, in just the way of like if you're running with this like lasting injury like concept, you can do it in a way that feels impactful. Like you lose an arm, but you do level up, so there's like a given. Like you're not dead, but hey, you got a couple more spell slots in case to make you feel better. Or hey, you got Ashing Surge now. Now I can hit someone. Now I can punch someone twice.
Yeah, with that long sword, you have to hold one hand now.
Yeah, well, hey, it works because you can't do that. But like, and that's the thing. And that's a topic for discussion between the players and GMs of whether you want to run possibly some like homebrew or variant rules to prevent death, or to make to replace death with something else still impactful. but not as like intense.
Yes.
Because that is a fair thing. But I feel like in general, that's the thing with that tier of play, and I feel like we covered it pretty decently. Is that people die. Unless like
unless variant rolls, that's just what happens.
Yeah, or maybe your warlock patron. Maybe you're like, oh, this is time to multiclass. You hear whispers in the dark.
Time to get a new patron.
While you're rolling your death, while you're rolling your death saves,
that's
you hear.
That's a world. Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a really good world. I know we're going. This is really off topic. This is a really cool world build.
Yeah. No. Exactly.
Like every time you die, you are visited by
like a patron offering
by this certain patron.
That would be a fun. I've done that.
Really?
I've done that for one shots, yeah.
Oh, that's whack.
Yeah, no, I've done that. I think shout out to Mac. I don't think Mac's watching, but if Mac's watching, shout out to Mac. I did that for his like first character, like Vladimir. Like it was a shadow sorcerer. He got like he literally like got shot through the heart, and his patron gave him like this like kind of manufactured heart as a like patron thing. But he even though it was a patron, it was a sorcerer. Okay. But back to the topic though. Yeah, that's the thing. Okay. But that's a cool thing to do, and maybe steal this. If that sounds cool, But
all right. So level so 1 to 4 1 to 4 if you die unless consequence happens.
Yeah.
Level 5 if you have a cleric or anyone with that ability on your team, Revivify becomes an option.
Yeah.
And that continues through the entire rest of the campaign. Unless you homebrew it out. That's a thing. So you just gotta get the diamonds. Yeah. So how does that change between 5 to 9? How does 5 to 9 or 5 to 10? How does that change the style of combat and what happens?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And furthermore, and how does that and also just general on that thing? How do your combats expand on that?
See, that's the thing is also when you're getting to that level where you're not really local heroes anymore. By that. Like after 5 and stuff, you've usually acquired a main quest. You've usually or sometimes it starts at level that like low level, but like most times you get to that point where you're going into the main story and you're tackling with stuff in larger than life, like factions, like people, NPCs, organizations, bad guy groups, like whatever stuff you may be dealing with at that level, and there's a case of it's always like I guess once again you can always just use that kind of very easy thing of throwing a level 1 encounter at a level 5 party to make them feel that they've reached that level 5.
You can set that as the milestone and be like, hey, you're level 5, congrats.
Exactly.
Here's your party of. Here's your easy encounter.
Here's your test dummies to test to try out all your new abilities on.
Yeah, see how cool you are.
That's always just a thing to do, possibly. But I feel like a main thing that you can really do on that tier of play and stuff, because you're gonna be dealing with, perhaps involve the party in something where they're not the only ones fighting.
Yeah, maybe at this point they make it to a city. And they get contracted by. Excuse me. They get contracted by certain, they contracted by
a group
by this group, by the thieves guild, or by the
king of the city,
the king or the mayor or whomever.
Yeah.
And this is your, he gives you a legit task that this is important to the city.
Yes.
We'll give you significantly more money than you were in those previous levels.
Yeah.
We're gonna give you a bit more money, but. In exchange, the DM knows at least that these combats are going to be, you're going to up the notch a little bit.
And there might be thematic also.
And it's going to be, and it should be just as thematic as all the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I fully agree. It really is one of those things where, like, especially at that tier of play and stuff, you're going to be dealing with, you're going to be strong enough to shine above, the other level 1s and other level 3s and 2s,
People, you're really starting to make a name for you.
Exactly.
You're starting to make someone, at least in the local area, a name
people,
for yourself.
And that's really much. That is pretty much the description they give you is that in the local area, maybe the local country and stuff. They probably, if you ask in like a tavern or stuff, there might be rumors of your fight with this dragon or this that stuff, and that's and your party name may have some weight. For other adventuring guilds who might have dealt with,
or maybe someone a few towns over actually they caught wind just of your party name.
Yes,
and they're like I'm not sure exactly what they do, but I know they are this.
They are this group, and they're moving around and stuff.
And they did this one thing.
Yeah, Like that's a really good way of just showing people that they've reached a point where they are known, and renowned, and dealing with that stuff also is really good.
And their cleric can resurrect someone.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, no, exactly. and that's where also the point where like giving up money is important, because lots of people are gonna get spells that require material components that involve money.
The scroll, your money starts to collect, and the scrolls really, scrolls for the wizards, spell scrolls for wizards, and they start to build up.
Yeah,
and they get expensive. And then going back to combat, you're contracted by the city, and you go and you do this thing, and it is, it's a lot more deadly, but you're also, if it is more deadly, you're probably gonna get more rewards other than money. Maybe you're also finding more magic items.
Yeah.
That's another thing. If you're going higher level, and you're doing these encounters or exploring these areas, you're gonna find some better items as well.
No, exactly, and that does remind me of a really good point. At like level 5 and above, you're gonna be dealing with things that have resistance to non-magical damage.
They become a thing.
Yeah, because like that becomes a really important thing that like actually affects gameplay in the way if no one has any magical like slashing, bludgeoning, or piercing weapons, it's gonna take a longer time, and it's gonna be tougher for some people to kill a certain thing because of that. And that's a very important thing.
We did a certain thing. We did a thing in your game.
Yeah,
there a lot of our characters have bows or swords or something like that. There's only really like. There's two now 3 casters.
Yes.
Out of like these like 6 people, so half
lots
of them
of people non-magical damage or like silverage in your case.
Yeah. So what we had to do, we had some of these items, but not a lot of them were weapons.
Yeah.
And that's not his fault, it was just how it happened.
Yeah.
To where
crystal ball of truth.
Yeah. To where we spent some money, and we had to make our thing silvered, so it would go past that.
Exactly, and or just in the case of just buying steaks. Like that.
I think that's a big thing to jump on. Once you are able to actually resurrect someone, I wouldn't, as a DM, this is how I am. As a DM, I wouldn't be as afraid of throwing more difficult stuff at them.
True.
If you reward them with more money, so they are able to resurrect if something does happen.
Yeah, I guess that you have a good point, and I feel like it's also the case of if you if you want to, or if you had reservations before due to the permanency of the PC death and such, you shouldn't really be that worried now. Just in the way that possibly you as a DM, you can just put a diamond in the loot. If you finish the encounter, you just investigation check. You found a fucking diamond. Congrats,
Yeah.
Like you got the thing. You got the gem, and you can revivify the person now. But do you have the spell slot for it?
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Yep. And then if you don't, it starts repeating.
You're to the graveyard.
And hopefully you're in the setting. You have to bury the guy.
Yeah.
or if you are in a city, there's probably more powerful clerics, and you're gonna have to pay them a bit of money.
Yeah,
resurrect them. Money certainly becomes a commodity,
and becomes also a mechanic.
Post.
It really does become a mechanic.
If you really wanted to, it can become a really big mechanic.
Yeah, buying and selling items, making items, crafting items. Like you mentioned, the players also. This is a point where players can be encouraged to use their skills and stuff. For for puzzle solving and for just in general stuff, but also in combat, it allows that having that toolbox and that tool set enables you to have a larger amount of options. Really,
right.
You have more stuff you can do right now, and let me just check the time. We're good on time. Yeah. Okay. But you can have that tier of but generally providing magic items. Being sure to account for the fact that at that tier of play, by standard, the party should have 1 or 2 +1s maybe, or have ways of or for the spellcasters they can cast
and have certain ways of getting around issues.
I guess hopping back to the top.
Yes, go back to I want to go. Actually, we'll do this. We're gonna go. So we went through 5 through 10, 5 through 9.
Yeah.
Let's jump to 15.
Yeah.
Because things have
changed.
Things have certainly changed. Then you are dealing. Your DM is probably throwing some stuff that even if it's certainly possible that someone dies, and even though your cleric or person that can resurrect can do that, there's some situations where it doesn't matter.
It's permanent.
It's something happens. He falls. This person gets just falls in
falls in lava.
Yeah, they just get dunked, or they become abandoned on on a different plane.
Yeah, no, exactly. They just got they just get lost in a sea of enemies that you generally can't recover their body.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, I guess
your friend. He
rest
just
in peace, Barg.
He just got disintegrated.
Yeah, no, yeah. Oh, it disintegrates. Fuck.
Yeah.
No,
you can't take that body back. You're gonna have to
exactly.
find someone that's really powerful.
And then you have like true resurrections, and you reach that tier also with 15 that you have allies, and hopefully your party has at least one wizard, and sometimes that's not the case.
No, it's not.
Sometimes that's not the case. You know that for as a reality.
And instead, even in his
five clerics instead.
Yeah, even 17 through 20.
Yeah,
even 17 through 20, where the cleric, where a person who resurrect does have true resurrection. That's what is it? 20,000 gold.
It's expensive. That's a thing you do after the whole game.
And even if even if you're at that high level, that might be the vast majority of your savings.
No, that would be the party gold that you're tapping into.
That would be like 3/4 of the party gold fund.
The rainy day fund comes into this rainy day.
Yeah, where your friend just got destroyed by some demon.
The rain is you crying.
Yeah.
But and that's the thing, and you reach that tier of play where also they are fighting these large scale battles. Sometimes it really benefits the players, to have you as a DM to place them in a place where they can, they're in this huge army, they're in this huge large scale fight.
This isn't just
where
you.
they're the case of having the players be because at that point what they function really in a larger force or larger faction as highly specialized and highly skilled individuals that can be used as a scalpel unit. You come into a point and you poke exactly at that point where stuff where 15 or 20 you are really a corporation, Kobe. That is very true.
Yeah.
And you reach that point in skill and intensity where literally you as a group and stuff, you're actually coming into your actions can take down a full city.
Yep.
You can fully if you really put your mind to it, six level 12s, they can probably easily take over a minor a medium sized city.
Yeah, and it's literally just them, and maybe they have hirelings, but that's them.
You can kill people with cantrips.
So what I'm thinking of when it comes to 15 or 16 to 20, in my opinion, unless it's something towards unless it's a mechanic that really hasn't been tested.
Yeah.
The DM can kind of just go off the wall.
Yeah,
if you really want to. Because whenever you get to that tier 4, whenever you get to
the final fight,
whenever you get to tier 4, the game has trouble keeping itself together. CR, that's been out the window for a while.
No, that's gotten out the window.
This is just the DM, and hopefully you've been playing these characters for a little bit.
Yeah, you have experience.
Power.
Yeah, you know your limits.
Let me try to use this creature, and I'll throw a few of them.
Yeah,
and we'll see how it works.
Yeah,
and if they die, they can't. They can't resurrect. Maybe the one dude here can delete someone.
Yeah, and also the case is lots of times at that tier of play, you're usually reaching the end of the game.
Yeah, you're at the end of the game. Your players can go anywhere.
Yeah,
they can do pretty much anything.
Teleportation circles,
demi-planes,
demi-planes, transplanar travel. You can summon an angel to help you.
Yeah,
summon what was it summon greater I can't remember the exact spell, but you can just summon a plane tower.
Yeah, the cleric has a half decent chance of their god actually intervening.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. There's all these things that happen, and when you reach that level of 17 to 12, planar ally, that's the spell. And when you reach that level of play, you really are reaching the point where you're fighting the final fights.
Yep.
You're going through and you're killing the thing, or you're destroying,
you're
or solving whatever your whole game has led to.
All right.
Whew. Yeah,
there's a lot there.
There's lots of stuff.
So, okay, and then we have one more to do, and we'll try to be somewhat quick.
We can go over.
Oh, we can go over. Okay, I don't know, but
just by a bit though.
Okay,
Josue's not here to tell us now.
Okay, So and then finally 10, 11 to 15 for that area, tier 3.
Yeah.
What I define tier 3 is that I put tier 3 at level 9. And the reason I do that is because level 9 is whenever the arcanist, whoever is the arcanist in your group, gets access to teleportation circle.
Yeah, the full caster gets it.
Yeah, the full caster gets it. And what this allows them to do is your party is no longer is no longer stuck in this city,
material realm, or
this city, or
this continent. Yeah.
this city, or even if you want to take it to this continent, they can, if they have access, or the the written down areas of certain areas.
Yeah.
They can go. They can go to these. They can travel all over the continent.
No, that is true, and it gives you also as a DM.
They have so much more. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah.
They have so much more. They have so much more leniency as to what they are, and they are such a bigger looming presence of the continent.
And the thing is, the access to those teleportation circles usually benefit and result from being, like you have access. These places. Your allies, provide you with these teleportation circles, perhaps, because that's also a case where you have to know the glyphs and stuff to get able to transport. And like having that stuff, and as a DM, that gives you the opportunity to give them different locales, give them different locations, and explain away and save on time, also in travel time, because you don't have to do like 2 sessions of y'all going across.
And I hate to sound cliche, but but a group that I've seen do this excellently is Campaign 2. Critical Role, where they're in their level 13 or 14, right? I think they're 13, but they're level 13 right now, and their wizard Caleb, he can, he has teleport, he has magic circle, create, teleportation circle. They can go. In the past few episodes, especially, I'm not spoiling anything.
Okay,
but they've been.
I was like, wait,
I'm not spoiling anything. But
just hit 14.
Just hit 14 exactly.
Yeah.
They've been in the past few episodes. They've been jumping everywhere. Across the continent, for plot, all kinds of plot and stuff. But they've been going so many locations for these different scenarios.
And you can afford that as a DM, because you can tell them you can go here.
And he's the wizard. He doesn't even have to know. He doesn't even have to have a circle at level.
Just teleport. Teleport.
Level 13.
14.
14. But when he turned level 13, he didn't even need to know where it was. He could just, if he caught scrying something, or if they're in a location, they can just.
Literally.
And they're there.
And that's a tool you as a DM can use really much for that tier of play. And also in combat, we can throw puzzles, and you can have the players be in combat and also be in a puzzle in a way that you can't really do at lower levels, because full casters, you have access to so much tools, and your spell list is also huge. You have so much more utility just inherently, whether they be through your built-in subclass, spells, or through what you choose to be if you're like a utility caster and stuff. And you have that option to throw actually challenging enemies in not just a way of just numbers and stuff. Obviously you can do that in lower levels, but it becomes more interesting at the higher level.
Just crazier abilities. And I also forgot to mention, at I believe it's 7th level, you have you can travel cross-planar. You can start jumping these planes.
You can teleport. Hey guys, we're going to the elemental plane of fire.
We're going.
Got your sunscreen.
We're going to what's the
Gehenna.
construct? We're going to Gehenna, or we're going to what's the
Mechanus.
construct? We're going to Mechanus. We're going to Mechanus. We're going to these weird places that.
And you can have combat there.
You shouldn't be there.
And the thing is, in those places are this whole different type of combat where they're combating against the whole world.
You are in their territory.
You're in a place that's actively trying to kill you, and that really does result in you having to think outside the box as a player, and as a DM give you the tools to do stuff.
It's like if humans went to not Mars, but if they went to a planet in a different you went to a planet on Alpha Centauri. And you're fighting those things. So there's not even a chance that something evolved remotely similar to you.
You die, you're stuck here.
This is you. Sorry. You're gone.
I feel like that wraps up almost all the different tiers of play. This was an interesting episode, and I feel like we can for sure expand on it. Well, it depends on what y'all really want to see. As always, be sure to check out the server's Discord. We recently added a new role for Roll to DM listeners. Just so you don't @ping everyone every single week. I fully understand. I feel y'all. So yeah, feel free to. And also, yes, our YouTube. We have VODs being uploaded as soon as I remember to do so, as well as We also have the VODs on Twitch, but I think by next week, the first episode will be expiring due to Twitch stuff.
Twitch
yeah.
stupid stuff.
But luckily, we have everything uploaded onto YouTube, so feel free to check that out. And I feel like that wraps up our this episode. See y'all next week.
I have additional advertisement.
Oh yeah.
And then also, if you do like this, and you know people that are not. If you're not in Sea of Boulder, tell them to hit this place up.
Yeah, no, literally. Yeah,
get a follow.
Yeah,
if you get enough follows, you can get some subscriptions and shit.
Exactly, and like you don't have to be at Sea of Boulder to participate in this podcast. This is mainly like into you just because we're all students here.
Yeah, but this is a D&D podcast.
Yeah, exactly. The topics of discussion are just for DMs in general and for players also.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see you guys later.
All right.
Peace. Yeah.
See ya.